The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's sales user training. It is on WeOpportunity and, more importantly, 2024 prospecting and sales goals. My name is Brandon Vieira, and joining me today is Samantha Perry, who will be instructing us through. After this webinar, you will be able to easily review 2023 year-to-date reporting, identify opportunities and estimates ready to close in 2024, leverage 2023 results to set 2024 sales and RMR goals, create prospecting activities and monthly goals, and fill your prospecting pipeline and dashboard. As always, we want you to get the most out of your time today. So if you have questions at any time throughout the webinar, don't be shy. Just type them right into the chat, even if it's because we've gone too fast and you want to see or hear something again. We have lots to go through, so let's jump right into it.
Awesome, thanks, Brandon. Welcome, everyone. I really enjoy doing this webinar every year. Every December, we set our prospecting goals for next year, and so glad to have y'all with us. So we are going to start with the 2023 look back from a reporting standpoint and identifying leads and opportunities that are on the brink of close. I'm sure, like many of you, with the end of the year here, trying to get in all the numbers that you can, and then also setting the stage for the first quarter. So I won't go deep into the weeds here, but with some of our past webinars that are up and live on the website, as well as in our teachable videos, there's a lot of reporting in WeOpportunity and on the WeEstimate side that will quickly be able to generate for you how you did this year. So for example, I am in my WeOpportunity URG, which I navigated to on the left-hand side panel under the reporting menu. And I'm looking at all leads, opportunities, quotes, and sold. I can maybe even want to throw in lost in there. And I'm looking at myself, and I may or may not be turning on other people. I'm actually going to turn off other people for now and just report on myself. So you can see here's Joe. And I had done 44 projects this year, 34 in a quoting phase, and 10 have been sold. So I don't have any that are in the lead or opportunity phase right now. So let me actually turn on Jack, because I'm sure Tracy's user has a lot of good stuff in there too. Okay, and so here you can see Jack added an additional, 34-ish projects, and the status is all of these were in. If I move to the details tab, it's going to let me drill in to what were the projects that I'd worked on, the statuses that they were in, what do I still have open, what do I need to close and lose. Really good activity to go through and do, right? My particular report I use very often is going to be the status. Maybe I want, some of these origins and markets, budget. Last update date is really what I'm trying to get at. This is kind of one of my most important fields that I report on. Maybe I'll throw last note on. And now when I'm looking at my leads, sorted by the last time I touched them, I can see, like if I sort the other way, here's a lead that I haven't updated since September, right? So what do I need to do with that? Do I need to update it? Do I need to lose it? Do I, need to give the customer a call and see if they're still interested? Good thing to do at the end of the year is always, or really, I run my URG almost every morning, just sorted by the last time I touched it. What do I need to do, and how long ago has it been since I communicated with somebody, or what do I need to do to clear out things? So like I had mentioned, there is a whole webinar you can watch about how to navigate the different URGs and run, all the different types of reports. And sorry, just a quick question about going a little quick there. So no worries. The idea is that my topic here would be to talk about, before you get started with any prospecting, building of a plan would be to look back at what you've done so far for the year, run a report on everything that you've done, and clean that closet a little bit to see, hey, are there leads or opportunities that have gone cold that I need to bring back up on the list? things that I need to lose, and then looking back as well as what was closed and, on average, how many, leads did you work on this year, how many were closed, kind of get an idea of that close ratio, as well as maybe even categorizing your sales into t-shirt sizes, which will make a lot of sense once we get into the prospecting plan. But I think everybody could probably guesstimate a small customer, a medium customer, and a large customer in their world, and how many of each of those buckets you might sell on average, whether you're working on a quarterly goal, monthly goal, or even some of you are working off of weekly goals in terms of number of deals that you need to close. So, and I will just point out, since we're here, if you go to wesuite.com and you go to education, there are the training webinars that we've done in past months, and there is the WeSuite Academy. If I go to training webinars, I will see in the last recordings of past webinars under the sales user training, knowing and loving the URG. We did this in November. Watch that video for anybody who really wants the full rundown on all of the reporting functionality and how it works and how to build your own views. The other thing I would say to do is to go to the WeSuite Academy, and from there you'll make a user and enroll, and these are step-by-step videos. So here under WeOpportunity, under reporting, here's a class I can take, and you kind of graduate the class. There's quiz at the end. There's some downloadable guides, and then there's a tour, how to build views, and how to run some standard reports. So I would definitely look at all of those as well, in addition to maybe watching that past webinar. Okay, so with all that being said, now you're prepped with all the data that you have to set next year's goals. And you may have also worked with, your sales management team, been pre-assigned some sort of goal or quota for the year. And so we're going to move to the prospecting plan. And so above on the left-hand side, for some of you, you would see this prospecting menu on. And there's two pieces to the prospecting module, if you will. There's setting the plan, and then there's your dashboard for executing against the plan and creating prospects. If you do not see this menu, no worries. It's just a user permission that your system administrator can turn on for you. And then once you open up the plan, and for those of you that already have a plan, this might look very familiar. And those of you who don't and are starting from scratch, don't worry, I'm going to walk you through everything. But the first thing I wanted to do was walk through kind of a fully baked plan before we build one from scratch together. And please, feel free to ask any questions as we go. So the whole point of a prospecting plan, I'm going to go one tab ahead, is to set some metrics and goals for how you are going to go about hitting your quota. And specifically, what self-generating activities are you going to do to get there? Now, you, of course, will probably have leads assigned to you that are inbound to the organization. Some of you might also consider current customers that you reach out to, right? That's technically prospecting, even though they're not a new customer, but anyone who works with large accounts, it's, part of your job is to build their usage of, what they buy with you and make their account bigger. And so what we need to do is, what are we going to do throughout the year to hit my goals? So Joe has a pretty lofty quota, I have a $7 million quota, okay? And to hit that quota, here's what I have proposed as a plan. Now, I've put my sales into t-shirt sizes. Now, I happen to have 5 t-shirt sizes. I have a squirrel, a deer, an elephant, a T-Rex, and a Bronto. Now, you can name them something fun like that if you want, but the idea is that I have my small, medium, large, and extra, extra large. And these are ranges, right? A small sale for Joe and this is a typo here, but it's anything less than $25,000. Medium is 25 to under 100,000. Large is 100 to 500,000. Extra large is 500,000 to $1 million, and any job over $1 million is the Bronto. Now, if you've used any like tax calculators or, retirement plan calculators, you're basically playing with how many of each type of sale do I need to hit or get to hit my quota. So sure, I could sell $7 million sales and be done for the year, right? Great. But realistically, I'm probably going to sell a lot of small and mediums, and then maybe a handful of some of these large and extra large. I don't even have on my goal to sell an over $1 million project, but that's okay. I still keep it there because if I do hit that, I want it to read in a report. So you can see the threshold of this final category goes to an infinite number, right? Anything over $1 million falls into this category. Now, on my recurring revenue, I have goals for those as well. So anything $50 a month or less, 50 to 125, up to 200, up to 5,000, over 5,000. And I've quantified those as well. So for those of you that have an outright goal as well as a recurring monthly revenue goal, you would use both of these columns or one or the other. And that's going to total and how much recurring annual that I need to obtain. And then it will break that down as well into quarterly, monthly, and weekly. So if your goal for the year is to sell 25,000 in new RMR, you'd go ahead and enter in these different quantities. Now, once this is set, you're going to hit Save Quotas, and you're going to add this as a view. And what that means is just like with the URG, when you're adding a view, it's just basically like save this, right? So this is going to be my plan, and it's my default view, and that's that. Reason for this is because you might have, other plans from prior years, or maybe my realistic plan, my wish list plan. It just allows you to save multiple types of configurations. But most people I've seen have one plan per year, and they might tweak the plan throughout the year, but they just edit what they already have. Now, once that's done, when you look at the bottom half of the screen, you will see how you're doing against your goals, because all of the reporting and numbers are coming from WeEstimate and Quote Anywhere. So you can see Joe's not doing too hot here. I'm only 7% to my $7 million goal. And then on the recurring, I'm 35%. But from my win-loss ratio, I'm winning everything. So, that's good. Down below is going to actually break out kind of like the URG, row by row, sales I made this year. So I sold 19 sales this year. And again, keep in mind, I'm using Joe, the demo guy, right? So not a whole lot of reporting in here, but I made 19 sales. And then I can see of the sales that I made, what category did they fall in? Was it a deer? Was it a squirrel? Was it a T-Rex? And so I would run, even if you didn't do it this year, I would set last year's plan anyway. And why? Because it's going to give you quantitatively how many of each t-shirt size you sold this year. So you can say, I'm going to do the same or better next year. So, and keep in mind, I'm going to go through creating everything from scratch. I'm just kind of walking you through a fully baked project first. And so you'll see where that sale brought you closer to goal, and then you'll see a few more columns for the recurring side as well. So if your goal was to sell 24 medium customers, here was one of 24. Any questions so far before I continue? Just giving the opportunity for that. Okay, we're going to go through it all a second time from scratch. So, all right. So that's the first part of the plan. Now, the second part is going to be, okay, great. I need to go hunt down, 200 sales this year. How am I going to do that? And that brings you to these last three tabs. We're going to skip the reports for a quick second. So the next tab I would go to is the prospecting activities. What self-generating activities do you want to track yourself against and, actually do to generate business? And now here's, Joe has way too many things. I would say don't do this, don't have 20 things here. But it's just a bunch of examples, right? I'm going to cold call, I'm going to find people on LinkedIn, I'm going to physically drive to their locations, I'm going to participate in these trade shows. I work with a strategic alliance, Sunrise Valley Community Homes. They give me leads all the time. That's a prospecting activity. I've cultivated that relationship and I actively, go and get leads from there. I might conduct a webinar. I might go to a policeman's event or some sort of volunteer event. So anything that you can think of that you're going to do to generate leads. Now, you might have some things assigned to you, right? Your manager says, I want you to make 100 cold calls a month. Great, that's on the list. But the idea is that you also want to add things that, maybe you are going to choose to do. And not everybody is the same, right? So me and Tracy as a good example. I'll cold call 1,000 people, but I don't want to stand in front of 1,000 people on stage, all right, and do a presentation. Tracy, total opposite. She'll stand on stage and teach a bunch of people, would rather not sit and make 1,000 cold calls. Not that she wouldn't do it, but kind of getting the gist that I'm giving you there. So you'll create basically this data list of all the things. And it's a growing dynamic list. Just keep in mind, once you've used this, once you go ahead and create a new lead and the source is, you knocked on the door, that becomes in use. So if I try to delete it, it's going to say, sorry, but this is in use. So meaning, you've already used it before. So you could either rename it or deactivate it, which is this active field, or just add something new. Once you've set up your activities, you're going to give yourself goals month by month. So you're going to say, hey, for the month of December, I'm going to make 100 cold calls. So out of Joe's entire list of activities, I've only kept like 6 of these active. So here are those 4 or 5, right? I'm going to do cold calls. I'm going to knock on doors. I'm going to call my key accounts. I have a relationship with Turner Construction, and I'm going to ask for referrals. Now, each of these has a secondary row because it's how many times am I going to do it and how many appointments do I want to get? So just like, I don't know if anybody, you go to the gym, right? I'm going to run 10 miles a day and I want to lose 10 pounds. So it's kind of how many times am I going to do the activity and what do I want the results to be, right? Not every cold call is going to turn into a lead. So these are just goals. And you'll set this for each month. Now, if they're the same month over month, I just basically will set up January and then I'll just copy those goals and I'll copy it month over month. You can also copy goals for any managers on the team for other people. But I really stress letting sales reps build and design their own plans or working with them on designing their plans because it's built around them. It's their own goals, they're generating, activities, and, they're more likely to hit it. And so then lastly is going to be the results. So Joe didn't do much in December, so let me see for the year what he did. Nothing, a big whole lot of nothing. But here I had Joe's goals for the year was 300 cold calls and to make 40 appointments. Now, if I had achieved any of those things, it would be growing closer here in green. So let me go maybe last year. Okay, really small, but Joe achieved 2 and converted 2. So we're going to see is that conversion, right? The idea isn't, hey, Johnny, you didn't make 1,000 calls. Okay, maybe he only made 500 calls, but he did get 25 appointments out of the goal of, 50. And so that's helping prove a conversion rate. Or, hey, this is a successful activity. Had I dialed 500 more phone numbers, I probably would have gotten 25 more meetings. And then the flip side is, hey, I get a bunch of leads, or I call, I door knock in this neighborhood, but I'm not getting any bite. And why is that? For some people, it's an opportunity for some coaching. Let's go out together. Maybe there's something you're doing that isn't helping close that lead. Or, hey, this is not a fruitful activity. I'm not going to do this next month. And also, some goals aren't month after month. If I come back to the goals here, one of my goals is every March I go to ISC West, and my goal is to get 20 meetings. I will make, 100 calls with the goal to get 20 meetings. That's not a goal of mine throughout the rest of the year. That's a goal that I have, January through March. And so once you've set up your t-shirt sizes of sales, mapped it out for your quota, given yourself some activities and some goals, it's just basically set it and forget it. That's set up, it's done. You've set up your goals for January through December of next year. And again, like I said, set it and forget it. Now you're just going to do your regular day-to-day work against your plan. And you can come back periodically and run reports and see how you're doing or tweak anything. So that will bring us to the dashboard, which is now I'm going to actually go out and do my prospecting. I'm going to make a cold call. I'm going to go knock on a door. And so I'm going to hit new activity. The reason this is in the prospecting dashboard is I don't want to make 100 leads. I don't want to fill in all this information about something that somebody may say, I'm not interested. So the prospecting dashboard is a place to record the 100 cold calls you made. So you can also call them back again, track what happened. Once you enter data in once, it's there forever, right? You don't have to, you're not going to lose it. But I just have to fill in a lot less information. I'm going to hit a new activity. I'm going to do a cold call. I'm going to call, Samantha's, wine store. There's no customer in here that has that name. It's brand new. I'm talking to Samantha, Rogers. Phone number, left voicemail. Not going to create a lead. It wasn't successful. All I did was leave a voicemail, save and close. Now that gets added to my list of cold calls that I made. Now I'm going to come back to this in 1 second, but if I were to go back to my plan and look and see what I did this month, 2023, and show, great, I got some numbers on the board. Joe made 1 cold call. Awesome. Now I'll come back to the dashboard. Maybe I'm going to do another cold call, and I'm going to call, let's do a current customer just to save from some typing here. Well, that's not a cold call, so let's be realistic, right? We're going to go to, Julie's pet shop. And I'm calling Julie. And maybe I don't even have her last name. I just know that's who it is. And I have a phone number, and spoke to Julie. She wants me to come by and review their site. Great, I'm landing this appointment. I'm going to hit create lead. I'm going to keep it. For some of you that maybe have business development people where they go out and do these cold calls, but then when they get a hit, they pass it on to somebody else, that would be the purpose of this assign to. But for most of you as a salesperson, you're going to keep it. And I'm going to save and open it. And now what have we done? 2 birds, 1 stone. I created a prospecting activity. I succeeded at it. And it's automatically converting into a lead as well. And I can now it's a tangible lead. I care about it. I want to fill in the rest of this information. It auto pushes everything I filled so far. All I had was Julie and a phone number. So you can see the site address is empty and email is empty. But now I have reason to fill in those things. Key to this is the lead source defaulted to prospecting activity because it didn't come from marketing from your team, it came from you. You generated this lead and you're going to get credit for that. So now if I come back to my prospecting plan and I refresh this again, I can see I made 2 cold calls, one of which converted into an appointment, right? So the idea is that I'm going to keep recording my activities here. This is also on the phone for WeSuite Go. If you've noticed, when you create a new lead or prospect, it drops down prospecting activity first. You select that and then fill in the rest. But now I can use this. It's basically another erg, if you will, but just for prospects, right? You don't want to fill up your whole pipeline with a bunch of stuff that may or may not ever close. But you do want to call these people back a second time or run through the list again, because, you know, I think numbers show, if anyone knows John Nemirovsky at Sage, that, you know, it takes about 6 touches, whether it's emails, LinkedIn message, phone call, running into them. You know, that's a pretty normal statistic to get somebody to make a decision with you. It may depend differently on different market verticals. But so if I wanted to call back Samantha's wine shop, I'll just open up this prospecting activity, and here's how I left it. Maybe now I have her phone number or her email, you know, samantha@yahoo.com, and maybe I know her address now, but you know, I can follow up with it, or I can enter in notes, and I could say, you know, called second time, she was, you know, out of office. And that's that, add that, right? Everything stays stored in here until the day you're like, great, I got a hit, she's ready to go. Convert her, turn it into a lead, save and open. And now it's pushed over, creates a new lead for me. It'll open here along the top. Sources prospecting activity. And it also will pour over all the notes. So any notes you've already taken, push over. So you're really, you know, you're not duplicating efforts here. You're using this as a way to quickly enter information without having to make a bunch of leads. So I'm going to do this from scratch now and walk it through again, but for somebody brand new. So I'm going to log off of Joe. I'm going to log into this new user, new sales guy, Bob. So Bob's done nothing, no statistics, got 1 lead that was passed him so far. Bob's going to create his prospecting plan. Blank slate here. So for anyone that wants to look back at this, follow along, but I will mention there's whole step-by-step tutorials of this too in Teachable. So please watch those too, because you can pause and follow along as you build your own. So what are we going to do first? Set up our t-shirt sizes. Now, Bob is a residential small business sales guy, so his t-shirt sizes are a little different. I'm not going to do, you know, $1 million sales. I'm going to say anything from a penny to $10,000. And for some of you, it really depends on preferences. I like to start with the last penny of the lower tier, because I would consider less than 10,000 small, 10,000 and higher medium. And so you want to make sure you're getting to the penny, because when this is pulling from the reporting from WeEstimate and Quote Anywhere, you want to make sure all jobs have a place to go and there's no gray area. So the first t-shirt size should always be a penny, and then my small cap is going to be at $9,999.99. And if I wanted to, I could put in a description that lands here. It could mean, you know, some people really, especially if you take a lot of sales training, right? Small is going to be, you know, residential, small business, and, you know, upgrades, right? Well, like, what is this definition? For those of you that need that, this is the place to do it. RMR, a penny, let's say up to $100. Great. Now I'm going to make my medium category. And medium is going to be 10,000 to 30,000. And it's going to be anything $100 a month to $200 a month. And this is going to be, you know, I don't know, warehouses, you know, commercial buildings, multifamily units, you know, 10 stories plus. All right, hopefully everybody's good so far. I'm going to make my large, and maybe I'm going to cap this at large. Or, I like to do 4 categories. So I'm going to do large. Let's see, we were at 30,000. And we'll say just shy of 50. And this is, I don't know, large warehouses, hotels, you know, private schools, something like that. I could be way off here. I get that. Just try to give you something to work off of. And we're going to do 200 a month. And let's say up to just shy of 500 a month. Now, what's important is the very last category, let's say extra large. You're going to fill in the from, but not the to. So I'm going to go 50,000 or more, and I'm going to go $500 a month or more. And this is, campus. And I know those are more like $1 million sales, but see where I'm going here. All right. So once all my categories are set, again, this is a set it and forget it type of situation. You don't have to do this again. This is there year after year. You could tweak it if you want. Now I'm going to go to actually setting up my quota. You're going to pick the year you're working on, which is for me 2023 right now. And let's just plug in some numbers. I'm going to get probably 5 of these, 4 of these, 30 of these, 50 of these for the year. And I'm just going to match it over here, but you don't need to match it. It could be totally different, right? If you sell a lot of service upgrades or you're not doing any installation, those count, right? So the recurring is going to go up, but there's no install. So we'll save. And now, okay, so let's say my quota is $1 million. So I've shot a little higher than that, and great, maybe I want to keep it that way. If not, I might tweak this a little bit and say, well, I'm probably going to do a little more of these than those. Really doesn't matter. This is just to give you kind of an idea to set some goals for yourself. And again, this is why I like to look at last year's statistics and the year before that to see on average how many of each size am I selling now. You might have a pretty good idea, but like let the system tell you. And once that's saved, don't forget to show the report down here. This add view turns on, and I'm going to call it, my new plan. If you don't add the view the next time you come in here, it's all cleared out. So you got to make sure you save it. And then now your report would show at the bottom, and Bob hasn't done anything yet, right? There's no percent to goal so far. So that's it, basically set for the year. If you want, like I said, you might tweak some numbers as you go, but you're basically all set up. Now we're going to put in some activities. I think by default, our system has canvassing as an activity because we have a maps feature that was kind of in the works where you could drop pins. If you want to keep canvassing, great. If you want to delete it, delete it. It's basically just knocking on doors. And I'm also going to do some cold calling. And I'm going to, do a monthly, meeting with, ABC Electric, and I work with, John the Builder, whatever. Okay. So you'll add all the types of activities that you're going to do, and you could even set one as a default. Let's say I'm going to make cold call my default. Now I'm going to set goals. So for the month of December, I'm going to knock on 50 doors, and I want to get 5 appointments. I'm going to cold call 100 people, and I think I could get 20 appointments from that. I'm going to have, this monthly meeting thing sometimes gets confusing. I'm going to have a monthly meeting, but I want him, I want to get 10 leads from that this month. So maybe it's, maybe I'll reduce that. Maybe I'm going to get 3 leads and I think I'll convert 2 of them. And then, John the Builder, I get at least 3 projects a week from him, so let's say 12, and I think I'm going to convert about half of them. Save that. Now, if you want, set the goals for January. It'll set to 0 again, and then set your goals. Or like I had mentioned, use this copy goals and copy December to January, save to February, save, March, save. You do got to do them all, but again, once it's done, it's done. So make 20 more clicks, save each month. You could go month to month and tweak a little bit, right? Summer's a little slow, fall is busy, trade show happens during this month, whatever. But once that's all set, then you'll have your activity report left, and Bob can just start recording activities. So let's do that. Bob's going to go to the dashboard, blank slate. He's never done anything yet. So I'm going to do my very first cold call, and you can see it's defaulted cold call because that's what I'm going to do most of the time. I could set a different default. I could say, nope, I'm doing door knocking today, and I'm knocking on, Carvel shop. And to be honest, I think I have Carvel in here, so I'm just going to use that to not duplicate. And I'm talking to, Tommy Erickson, and this is their phone number. And maybe I'll put in the address. Sorry, I'm typing too fast. Remember nice city state zip lookup here? And, walked in, they have an old system, suggested upgrade. He said he'd think about it. I'm not going to create a lead, close it. There's my first activity. And again, if I come back to the plan and refresh it, he's done 1 of 50 door knocks for the month. And so you'll just continue to fill in your prospects, convert them to leads when they're becoming leads, and, get a lot of really good reporting out of this and see how you're doing against your goals. And what I really like about this is it's telling me pretty clearly what's working, what's not working. Hey, do more of this. But the other thing is that when you take into consideration not only the goals that you've converted, but these t-shirt sizes, because you could say, hey, I'm cranking through door knocking in this neighborhood. It's great. I'm selling lots of deals. But they're all small deals, right? Which is fine. It's turning things away. But when I'm door knocking this other neighborhood, those are more custom homes, and I'm getting more medium-sized deals. Or hey, Johnny the builder, he's given me lots of leads. I could see I've gotten 20 leads from him, but none of them are converting into appointments, right? He keeps giving me phone numbers and contacts, but nobody, is doing anything. So is that a conversation? Is that, hey, I should develop other types of relationships? And again, for new sales reps, a lot of times it's just maybe some coaching. Drive with a, really experienced sales rep and see, how they can help you. But once you start seeing that conversion rate, and so here, if I go to the reporting, let's say for, which is the one, this one, let's say for the year, for everybody in the company, how they did. So Jack and Sam and Joe are the 3 salespeople that, we use here as fake users. And so I can see, how many won versus lost. And remember, our demo people don't lose anything, which I should put some lost stuff in there. And then how they did against their goals. And, what numbers they brought in and other things like that. And then how is that in comparison to, other goals that were set. There's another nice report here that will calculate based on the size of sale, what was your expected revenue for that category. So maybe your t-shirt sizes are market verticals, or again, small, medium, large here. What's the expected revenue for the year, and then what actually happened. So if I just plug in some numbers here and calculate. It's going to say I didn't sell any of the small, so that's fine. I'm just going to plug in the same number and see what I get. It's hard on a demo system. I don't have a lot of real data, but you guys should be seeing some good numbers on the board for different things. And so again, this could maybe help set goals for next year. So with that being said, as Bob, I'm done, right? I've set up my plan, I've set up my goals. I'm just going to keep using the dashboard to record activities and convert those into leads. I will pause. Any questions? All right, doesn't look like it, so that's good. Few things I will point out. I will show you on the Academy, prospecting has its own class. Watch these videos. It's the same as what I just did now, but broken into chunks. You can watch them, follow along, pause, set up your own system, move on. I find that very helpful. And then we also have some downloadable worksheets. So for those of you that I would really suggest putting your thoughts down on paper first. These worksheets we wrote to, help in setting up your plans. What type of activities you're going to do, how many times a month, how many appointments do you want to get, right? If you're the type of person that likes to sit down as a team or with your manager or just throw all your thoughts down on paper and then build it in the system, this is the activity worksheet. And then the quota goal worksheet just brings you to that kind of t-shirt size breakout. So feel free to use both of these worksheets to help devise your plan. And since we do have a little time, I will say that going into your past reporting, so let me log out of Bob and be Joe again. Oh, that's why I had no numbers. Bob's done nothing. So let me do those reports again as Joe. Sorry, guys. I should have realized that. Okay, this is making a lot more sense. All right, so now I'm looking at the reporting as Joe. Joe's been a sales rep here a long time, and let's see what has happened this year. And it looks like 2020 was a better year for Joe, so let's see how that did. Now you can see that Joe and Jack converted, 64 jobs, 9 of which were lost, and what was the win-loss ratio, the sales, and the recurring. You can also see what were the successful activities. If there is no prospecting activity, that means this lead did not start at prospecting. It started as just a new lead. So it came in through other efforts, right? They called you, you didn't call them. So, Joe had a lot of leads from that. And then you can also see of the activities he did for the year, this is how many leads turned into sales. So let's say for Jack, for example, going to this networking meeting, sold 1 lead, calling into key accounts, sold 3, cold calling, sold 3, and, so on. Now, key accounts, that attributed to $86,000, cold calling attributed to $148,000. So what does that mean? Hey, my current customers, holding on to that and relying on them to build my quota for the year, fine. But hey, I'm hitting big numbers when I'm cold calling. And maybe you want to even be more specific. Cold calling who? What lists? What neighborhood? You don't have to get too crazy with it, but sometimes it's helpful so you can see what's really working or not. Because as a salesperson myself, you want to spend more time next month doing the things that are working for you and putting more commission in your pocket. And that's really the purpose of this prospecting plan, to help you make realistic decisions and numbers based on the stuff you're already doing today and entering into the system. So I really hope that this was helpful to everybody. I know it's a lot to see for the very first time, but I really would stress minimum set up some activities and some goals. You don't even have to put the big goal. Just say I want to get 15 appointments and you don't have any cap to number of cold calls. You're just going to make some number of cold calls. Doesn't matter. Even if you put no goals, as long as you have activities, it's going to track for you what you did against these activities. And those are going to convert into quotes, into jobs, and so on. And so this will run reports and numbers for you regardless if you fill in every piece of the plan. But setting goals for yourself, putting in these t-shirt size categories can just help make it that much better. So really looking forward to seeing some of your guys' plans. And with that, I will let Brandon close us out. And I hope everybody has a really great holiday season, and I will talk to you next year.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and hopefully you're comfortable with everything that Sam reviewed. If you need to refer to this webinar again, it will be posted on our website by the same time tomorrow under the Training Webinars page under the Education menu. And that wraps up our 2023 webinar trainings. So thank you to everyone who attended this year. We hope you've gotten the most out of these sessions. You can be on the lookout for our 2024 schedule coming soon. Have a great day, everyone, and we hope you enjoy your holiday.